Hey, everybody. Time to drink some coffee from my American flag mug, like I've been doing for each one of these recaps on the debates. And I felt like there was a renewed reason for me to review the fourth Republican primary debate, which happened on December 6th. It's December 21st today. Um, but I was busy when it originally happened. One of my friends had a stroke, and I've been intimately uh, involved in the care of their dogs. I've been losing sleep. Had a whole bunch of other stuff happen to me, uh, good stuff and bad. And it's just been a very busy December for me. So it took me a while to get to this, but my renewed interest in it actually happened when here in my state of Colorado this week, uh, Donald Trump has been removed from the ballot by our state Supreme Court. Now, there's like injunctions and there's like another deadline by like January 4th. And, the National Supreme Court might have to chime in on shit. But as of right now, he's off the ballot in Colorado, which actually makes the Republican primary debates that didn't have him in the first place a little bit more relevant if he could be removed from state ballots. And if, say, the National Supreme Court makes a ruling in favor of what Colorado has done, it could affect other states as well, which could, hurt Trump's chances in winning the nomination of his party, even though he is by far still the front runner and still does not think that he needs to participate in the debates because he's just obviously the winner. So Tim Scott was the person who lost their seat in musical chairs between the third debate and the fourth debate, which left Ron DeSantis, Chris Christie, Nikki Haley, and Vivek Ramaswamy. Those are the four that are left, with of course, the ghost of Donald Trump on the stage because he wasn't there, but he's always felt. This one was also very easy for me to find online because it was posted to YouTube by News Nation. And the main interviewer was actually Megyn Kelly, who I remember from all of her years on Fox News, but now she's kind of she's how should I put this? She's jumped sides so many times between the left and the right as far as employers that I think people just they see her coverage as being very unique, and she was taking it to the people on the debate stage with her questions, and I think they let her open up with a volley that was particularly pointed, like hard-hitting questions. So as it started, the debate starts, and DeSantis said that Nikki Haley opposes child genital mutilation, which some of us know as gender-affirming care, and he said that he attacked that same stuff with laws in his state. And then Haley said that DeSantis keeps lying about her record and that she opposes even talking to kids about gender even more than he does, like at way younger ages and whatnot, and way older ages. And basically, they fought a lot this night on December 6th about who could out anti-trans who. Vivek Ramaswamy He didn't answer Megyn Kelly's question about whether or not he's a uniter or a divider in the party. And he instead used his time to attack Nikki Haley about her donors and her supporters. It kind of devolved into like high school style. And for the first 15 minutes, I was like, well, when are we going to get to talk to Chris Christie? Because these three like to, stab each other in the back a lot. Nikki Haley defended her time with Boeing, which was one of her supporters, and said that the other panelists are just jealous that she's actually attracting the donors that they used to have. DeSantis said he's attacked BlackRock and that Nikki Haley supports ESG, which will support corrupt companies. And then Ramaswamy said that Haley was part of the woke industrial complex, and that the only person more fascist than Biden would be Nikki Haley as president. I was like, okay, that's a little over the top, Megyn Kelly asked Governor Christie, you got into this, you said, to stop Trump, but voters seem to like him more than you, is what she was telling him. And she was giving him all the percentages and whatnot. And then Chris Christie responded with, well, the truth needs to be spoken. Trump is unfit and he's a dictator, and that there's no bigger issue in this race. And on this point, I really do agree with Chris Christie. It's the biggest point of the entire debates is Trump. So the next topic that they kind of corralled everyone into was Israel. And DeSantis, this time he says, we need to look after our own people, and Joe Biden is trying to kneecap Israel against Hamas, who would try to create a second Holocaust, and that our country shouldn't be trying to tell other countries how to defend themselves. Chris Christie said that DeSantis waffles on whether he would send troops, and that Christie would absolutely send troops to rescue our own citizens in Palestine. And then Vivek Ramaswamy said what Hamas did was vile, but it was an attack on America, and Israel has a right to defend itself to its fullest on their own. And that as president, he will smoke the terrorists on our southern border, and that he supports Israel smoking the terrorists on their southern border. And well, first I'll say that the way that he's treating it is very isolationist, and it's in the vein of Ron Paul before him. He really does connect with the spirit of Ron Paul many times. But also, what I want to say is the Gaza Strip is kind of on the northwestern side of Israel. On their southern border, that would be like Saudi Arabia, who like are trying to stay out of this shit in the middle. Like they're like, ooh, wow, look at everyone fighting. Like, let's just wait and see. Like, you don't hear a lot about Saudi Arabia, but like I think maybe just Vivek doesn't understand the map. Yeah. Maybe it was just a gaffe. I don't know. DeSantis then said our own people were also attacked. Like some of the hostages taken were, American in some way, and that he would defend them. Then they were all asked on the subject of Iran some questions, and Nikki Haley said that Iran only responds to strength, and that we need to punch them hard, and that Iran funded Hamas striking Israel on Putin's birthday to distract the US from supporting the Ukraine, and that it's all connected. You know, she doesn't present all of the evidence saying like that proves that that's why they did it on Putin's birthday. But yeah, she's got a theory, and she put it out there for everyone to hear. And it wasn't the craziest theory of the night. So I'll give her that much. But maybe there were some intelligence that was captured saying that in order to send a message to Putin that Iran supports him, that they were going to do that on his birthday for him. Uh, but I have not seen the evidence of that at all. But she's willing to put that out there as something that is knowledge everyone needs. Vivek Ramaswamy said, we need a reasonable peace deal in Ukraine to end this pointless war, and that Nikki Haley can't name 3 Ukrainian provinces that she would help liberate. And then Chris Christie attacked Vivek Ramaswamy about attacking Nikki Haley and said that Vivek's reasonable peace deal is to let Russia have everything that they already stole and to trust Putin not to work with China. And Vivek is an obvious blowhard, and that Vivek should stop insulting Nikki Haley's intelligence and that she's a respectable woman, which made Chris Christie look like, you know, a white knight or at least a gentleman on the stage. I'll give him like angling points with that. You know, Nikki Haley didn't ask to be defended in that way, but Vivek came back with looks like Chris Christie can't name 3 Ukrainian provinces either, and that he should walk off the stage and enjoy a nice meal, which hurt a little bit of booze because it's, you know, fat shaming and all that. But he also said that everybody else on the stage wants to send American troops to die, but they're intellectual frauds because they can't name the Ukrainian provinces that they'd send American troops to. Which the quiz about different names of different places is a theme that if you're remembering your Ron Paul history, there were problems in naming different geographical locations in the past that plagued Ron Paul and then other people that were on debate stages with him. It's like they would cram so that they would know the answers so that they could quiz the others on debate stages. Hi, Bugsy's Evil Deeds in the chat. I do see you. This is live, but I'm doing this at a time in the morning where nobody's going to be up, or a lot of my subscribers would be at work. It's 10:04 a.m. my time. Just trying to get this done and out of the way because it's timely stuff now that Trump might be off the ballot in Colorado. Christie, he came back with naming his experience as a U.S. attorney and says that Vivek only insults people and doesn't say anything that moves America forward, and then there was this like awkward cut to commercial break in the video that is on YouTube. And I'm wondering if it was edited to take something else out about Vivek, because it just like abruptly jumped right there. And that was the only point in the whole debate footage that's on YouTube that has that weird skip to it. Like all the other commercials, they actually announce. Um, the next topic that they were all talking about uh, was the southern border and fentanyl. And DeSantis said that drug cartels are killing our citizens by the tens of thousands, and that Washington, D.C. doesn't care, and that categorizing these people muling the drugs over as foreign terrorists and then shooting them on sight is the right thing to do. Uh, and then he went on to say that, in Iraq, the enemy didn't have uniforms, and that the enemy were wearing man dresses that could have been hiding like explosives and stuff. And I was just like, oh my goodness, that is some racist bullshit that came out of DeSantis's mouth. Like to call the traditional garb of the Iraqis man dresses. And it's kind of like when Trump said that Mexicans are they're coming over the border and they're not sending their best, they're sending their rapists and murderers, right? It's one of those moments where I'm like, this shit should follow him forever. Like, I'm saying that Ron DeSantis probably just lost all the votes in Dearborn, Michigan. Anyways, he also said that we need to build a wall and charge fees on remittances from foreign workers who are sending money to other countries to their family in order to pay for the wall. Like if you're going to come to America to make money to support your family in another country, we need to hold back more of that money that you came here to get. So anytime that money is sent to a foreign country in that way, he wants to tax it more, which is kind of it's a targeted tax. It's really I'm okay with taxes on things like vices like alcohol, pot, tobacco, and all that. But when the people that you're wanting to tax are people without representation because they don't vote for a representative, and you're specifically wanting to tax them because it's not a tax on the people who can vote, and so then they're much more likely to go along with it because it doesn't affect them as much. I think that's kind of dastardly. Just saying. Um, if they come here and they earn a little bit of money picking our fruit and they want to send some of that money back to their families, like how are we tracking that shit? You know, money wires from banks, fine, but like, what if they're using crypto? Are we gonna like say, oh, well, that was money that was earned in America, and we can track it through this, and then you sent it over to somebody else who picked it up in a different country. Like, how are you gonna track the purpose of these funds and only tax the shit that's being sent to family members in a foreign country? That's some weird additional government oversight and invasiveness that I wouldn't expect from Republicans, like classical Republicans anyway. But whatever. Nikki Haley said that Biden allowed 500,000 Venezuelans into the country with like political asylum, and that will attract more people, and that her parents came to America legally, and so everybody else should too, and that we should use special forces to go into other countries and take out cartels, enact a remain in Mexico policy, and end normal relations with China. Uh, then Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis squabbled a bit about who supports who. as far as donors and supporters and whatnot. And then Vivek Ramaswamy said that there's an underlying mental health issue with addiction that can't be solved by dealing with things like supply and demand style, and that and I agree with Vivek on this point, which actually was Chris Christie's point in a previous debate, that we have to address the addiction issues. And then Vivek kind of walked away from my opinions, and he says that fentanyl comes from Wuhan, China, just like fentanyl and COVID come from like the same place, and that they're both like terrorist attacks and whatnot. Um, I at least agree with him that we need to deal with addiction issues. That might be due to the fact that I am a licensed addiction counselor in the state of Colorado, but he was speaking to me on that little point. That like we're not going to just cut off supply lines and just expect that fentanyl's not going to get here with a different supply line. You can kill as many people as you want if there's money to be made. Hand over fist, and people are going to keep trying to do it. Um, so the next issue that they went to, uh, it was the economy and home affordability. And Nikki Haley was the first one to be able to address it. And she said that homes are unattainable for young people like her own kid, and that we have higher interest rates, higher insurances, and a supply issue of like a supply of houses. And so, in order to address this, she'll like lower interest rates, lower insurance costs, and work to increase housing supply, and also veto spending bills that don't go back to pre-COVID levels. Like we spend too much money now, take all the money that we threw into COVID and like earmarked for COVID and wipe it out of the budget and like go back to what we used to spend. Um, Ron DeSantis said that the borrowing, printing, and spending of money was the fault of both parties, and that he would lower interest rates and inflation, and that he doesn't support having a truck driver pay for the degree that someone got in gender studies. So he wants more degrees that are vocational training that he's willing to reimburse people with and forgive student loans on, but not gender studies, not information that he disagrees with. Um, and his anti-trans rhetoric, it permeates a lot of what he says. He has really found a group of people to marginalize in his speeches and his rhetoric to great effect, as far as like riling up everyone who feels the same way as him into supporting him, such that he can call the garb of Iraqis man dresses. And so Iraqis bad, trans people bad, I will label them as wearing man dresses in the way that I speak. Right? This is probably something that other people aren't connecting here, but things that he does not like are cross-gender things. So if it looks cross-gender to him, it's bad. He also said that he would open up energy production in order to stimulate the economy. And then Vivek Ramaswamy said that we need more modern laws about cryptocurrency, and that bureaucrats in three-letter agencies are actually in control of America with, some dark cabal of people that are in closed-door meetings and whatnot, and that he would shut down agencies that shouldn't exist. And then DeSantis had to chime in and said that he would kill talks about central bank uh, digital currency because that's a way to track people's transactions. You know, even though previously we heard about wanting to track transactions across the border to people sending money to their families because we want to tax that. He's against like you know white people Americans having their money their transactions tracked in the same way with like a standard central bank digital currency. Anyways, then there was an announced break that didn't have an awkward jump in the footage. Uh, the next topic that they came back with after the break was uh, on Trump, and Nikki Haley said that she doesn't support a straight up Muslim ban, and she only would ban people from countries that say death to America, and that it's not about religion. And then DeSantis said that there's more anti Semitism in Germany now because they're importing foreigners from cultures that are hostile, which is his way of saying Muslims without saying it, or brown people without saying it. Foreigners from cultures that are hostile to Jews. Uh, Vivek said that, what about the illegals that are already here? Um, he would allow ICE to deputize local law enforcement to deport people, and that would increase ICE's power by, stretching it over 1 million more people in other law enforcement agencies. So that we would have more ability to deport people. And Chris Christie said that Trump made it clear by saying things like, I am your voice, I am your retribution, and that President Trump wants to enact revenge when he becomes president, and that Trump's conduct is unacceptable, and that the others on the stage still enable him. And then he talked about how earlier in a previous debate, it was asked if Trump was found guilty of things, would you still support him? And back then, it was two people that didn't raise their hands, and Chris Christie was one of them. Now, only one of those people is still on the stage. That's Chris Christie, right? So when he's talking about this, about how some people would still support Trump if he's found guilty of felonies, uh, Vivek Ramaswamy actually raised his hand on the stage while Chris Christie was saying it. And, in the sticking to your guns realm, I would give Vivek points for that. But also, I would give points to DeSantis and Haley for not following suit because I know they saw it. Right, they were right there on stage with him, and they seem to, by not raising their hands again, to be, at least not announcing that they still would support Trump, uh, and leaving it a little bit in the air. They didn't say that they take it back now, but it was Christie that was the only one who didn't raise his hand and say he would keep supporting Trump even if he was found guilty of things. DeSantis then was asked about Trump, and he said that Father Time is undefeated, and that Trump is almost 80, and we need a president who can serve 2 terms, and then we need the next generation of leaders. And Trump didn't drain the swamp or build the wall, so he kind of didn't. He didn't fulfill his campaign promises. And so Christie pointed out that DeSantis won't answer whether Trump is fit to serve or not. And then it was an awkward moment on the stage because Christie just kept on hammering down the point. Like, the question was whether he's fit or not, and you haven't answered the question. This would be thrown out in a court of law as a non-answer, and you'd be forced to answer that with a question. And it was just pointing out again that everyone in the Republican Party, save for a few people like Chris Christie, are afraid of Trump bad-mouthing them. And that's not good for them. They have this cult of personality around Trump that they have to deal with politically. And Chris Christie has decided to completely eschew any connection to Trump and take it on the chin from Trump's social media. Vivek Ramaswamy then, when he got his chance to talk some more about Trump, he said Trump at least took on the deep state people behind the scenes trying to control the government. And then he said January 6th was an inside job and that Saudi Arabia was involved in 9/11. The 2020 election was stolen. The 2016 election was also stolen as far as the popular vote from Trump. And he just kept on like saying, these are truths that we have to say. And I'm like, wow, none of those are truths that I feel need to be said because they're not truths. Like, they're just things that a lot of conspiracy theorists believe. And that's who you're trying to get to vote for you. That's awkward for you, to think that you have to pander to stupidity to get votes. Shit. I mean, I know that we're talking about the Republican primary debate, but still, even within that, to have to go that far into the rabbit hole of stupidity to try to pander for votes is just wow. Anyways, next they had the subject of trans medical bans. Chris Christie said that he was not so far out of step with Republicans on trans issues that he can't be their nominee. He just believes that we should have less government in our lives, and so that he would sign a transitioning ban for kids. He believes in parents' ability to have the right to choose the care for their children. And he says that he personally thinks that transitions are a dangerous thing to do, but he stands up for parents' rights to choose. A very measured response to the question. But Vivek Ramaswamy follows that with saying that transgenderism is a mental disorder and that he will ban genital mutilation until the age of 21. And then Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis, that they were like arguing about who protects little girls in bathrooms from men more, in their respective states of South Carolina and Florida. And then Vivek said that, well, he was asked why he puts Nikki Haley's full name on his website and jabs at her about converting to Christianity, saying that it's politically convenient for her to do so. Because Nikki is a nickname. Her full name. It reminds me of how Republicans keep on saying Barack Hussein Obama because Saddam Hussein was, the dictator in Iraq that we deposed. So they kept on, making a big deal about his middle name being Hussein. And so in the same way, weirdly, Vivek, who keeps his foreign-sounding name, he's basically shaming Nikki Haley for not going by her full, more Indian heritage name. And then Nikki Haley actually was asked if she wanted to respond, and she declined to respond to Vivek, saying that she uses identity politics, uh, which some people in the audience cheered her for. Um, the next topic was restoring faith in government agencies. Chris Christie was like, I'm the only one here that worked for a government agency. I fought terrorism through the Justice Department, and I was appointed on September 10th, and then September 11th happened, and I was involved in cases about terrorism, and I won't get involved in cases like Trump says he will, and put my thumb down on justice cases on the scales of the law. And then he was the only person who answered the question. Like, they just went on to another question. And so they asked Ron DeSantis about increasing election integrity. And DeSantis said, I'll do what we did in Florida. There will be no Zuckerbucks, which is, a dog whistle. But there will be no mass mail harvesting, and that he favors changing the rules. But until then, he'll explore exploiting them wherever they are lax. So, like, if he's running for president and there's a county where they allow mass mail harvesting, he's going to do it because it's allowed, but he's going to try to change the rules if he becomes president so that that's not allowed. So I understand that actually, as far as like not unilaterally disarming in a in a contest. So he also said that he would put in a new FBI director on day one, which is answering the question that was posed to Chris Christie on restoring the faith in government agencies. And then there was a quick break, which was announced with no like weird jump like that one that I pointed out earlier. And then they went to the topic of college campuses and balancing out free speech versus having radical activism that Republicans don't like on college universities. And Nikki Haley said that pro-Hamas protesters are as bad as KKK rallies, and in that both of them are, at times anti-Semitic. I get the connection there. They're as bad for Jewish people. She also said that we need to get foreign money out of universities and stop having foreign governments invest in our universities. And then she said anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism, and that we should ban TikTok once and for all because it makes people more anti-Semitic and more pro-Hamas. And she was just pulling numbers out of her ass, like, after an hour of watching TikTok, you're going to be 17% more anti-Semitic. How the fuck do you even measure that shit? I want to see, like, how you measure 17% more anti-Semitic. That's a weird, application of numbers. But I will say that my own experience on TikTok has been that I see footage from Gaza, and it is horrible. And I can see the people in Gaza being able to put their messages out to the world on how they're doing with being attacked by Israel and bombed by Israel and told to evacuate by Israel. And so those are things that you wouldn't find on other mainstream media. And that's why she wants TikTok banned, because it does actually show the the scenes from the ground that you wouldn't see if the state was able to control what you were allowed to see. So, does it make people more, uh, I don't know, more sensitive to the plight of Palestinians? Yes, yes, it does. Like for me, it does definitely. And I have a video earlier from like last month that I made on the topic, and so I get why she would want to ban TikTok, but the party of freedom of speech wanting to eliminate a certain type of speech because it's you know it's inconvenient to their narrative. It's just troubling, that they're sometimes they want to try to act like they're classic uh, Republicans, but then there's nuances to their beliefs. And Bugsy says that 17% is obviously a butt number. It's been pulled out of a butt. And so, yeah, I want to see what butt it was pulled out of, and if that butt wrote a paper, and how they were measuring the actual anti-Semitism of someone on a percentage scale of like 1 to 100, and like what percentage change you are of how anti-Semitic you are. Like that's a really weird application of numbers. I'm just saying it that way. Um, so Nikki Haley uh, said, "What worries me most as a threat to the U.S. is actually Joe Biden." But short of that, she said that Iran knows that our southern border is the easiest way to get into our country. And so she's afraid that Iran is going to pay terrorists to come across our southern border and then do an attack like Hamas did to Israel. That's her fear. And yeah, it's strange to be afraid of that, but you know, having that fear and then juxtaposing that with Vivek Ramaswamy saying that it wasn't America that was attacked, and then not being, I guess, aware enough that America's connection with Israel is so intertwined that any attack on Israel kind of is an attack on us, and that all of Israel's military equipment is pretty much U.S. They're wearing U.S. made uniforms, wielding U.S. made guns, driving U.S. made jeeps. You know, they're yeah, and they don't want to see that connection, but they do see that their big Voldemort of the world being Iran, the Muslim brown people there, the Ayatollah and whatnot. They see that Iran wants to attack Israel and also wants to attack the U.S., but they're not willing to see the connection between Israel and U.S. in any way that's informed. They see them as two separate entities. I'm like, yeah, we're very much in bed with them. That's what we support them because we support them. That's basically it. We have a history of supporting them. Uh, the next topic was on China and Taiwan, and DeSantis said that he'd use deterrent before ever sending troops to Taiwan to protect against China. But then Vivek Ramaswamy said that he would be arming every Taiwanese person as the best deterrent, and that he would absolutely send our own troops as well. And then Nikki Haley said that the best way to deter China from attacking Taiwan is to make sure that we win in Ukraine, which means the Ukraine wins against Russia, and that would show China that the U.S. means business because we can support the Ukraine in defeating Russia and retaking the land that Russia stole. And then she said that we need to start pulling our alliances together. And Chris Christie then kind of was responding to Vivek Ramaswamy when he said that only Taiwan can give themselves a Second Amendment because they have like gun control in Taiwan. And he said that economic relationships mean nothing if China is left to be able to be a bully in their side of the world, in their region, and that Trump's tariffs were actually a big failure. Uh, then they went on to the subject of a healthcare plan, and in my chat, Aries 106 says it's funny how they were jumping over each other to unconditionally support Israel, and by funny I mean sad. Yeah, yeah, it was. Um, as well as how none of them are willing to publicly denounce Trump except for Chris Christie. None of them are willing to speak ill of Israel's methods in policing Palestinians and dealing with terrorism. And I would say the biggest thing that the Republican voting bloc needs to realize is that like 0.5% of all the people in Gaza were just killed. And if you don't think that that's the beginning of an extermination of the Palestinian people in Gaza, I would want to know like at what percentage do you call it the beginning of the extermination? You know, 10,000 dead so far that we know of. And so and just look at like when Hamas does a little attack on Israel that ends up being the biggest attack since the Holocaust, right? And what does Israel do back? They kill tenfold that number of people in Gaza. And when you look at each year, every year, how Israel kills more people in Palestine that are in the West Bank or in Gaza, and then and year after year, it's like tenfold more, than what they're losing. It's like one side of this is winning, and the brutality is funded by U.S. taxpayers. So I say we're pretty complicit in all of that, and that's we're not separate from the dealings in Israel. We're actually like supporting what Israel does. They're the only people who have laws against BDS, against like divestiture and boycotting of Israeli products. Like they're the only protected people in a lot of states and like the federal government. Everyone else, you're allowed to protest and boycott and whatnot. But if it's Israeli, somehow they have it written into our law that you don't have that freedom of speech anymore. Like you can't call for a boycott on Israeli products, uh, which is a very unique position that they're in. It's very privileged to be the one thing that we don't question. We don't. And the way that Nikki Haley in this debate said that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. On TikTok, there's a bunch of people who have been disagreeing and vocal on that point that there are Jews all across the world that are anti-Zionist. They do not think that Israel speaks for Jews, right? And to conflate anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism is to say that Jewish people need this Israeli state in a colonial sense, that they absolutely cannot be questioned in being given this land that belonged to other people. Hi, Badger. I see you in my chat as well. It's weird that I have now seen 3 people in my chat because I was trying to get this done in the wee hours that everybody else would maybe be working or otherwise busy. But I just remembered that Badger's in the UK, so I think it's tea time over there. It's always tea time with him. Anyways, on healthcare, DeSantis said that we need more access to care and good doctors, and that he'll attack costs with price transparency from hospitals and pharmaceutical companies and accountability, which is a lot of mumbo jumbo. It doesn't really equate to any good plan of action. He's just saying words that sound good. Vivek then said that his wife is a cancer surgeon, and that we need a system of healthcare that is a healthcare system rather than a sick care system that promotes the therapies and practices that actually will fix problems and not just keep on treating them, because we will pay for treatments that will just prolong an issue rather than pay for the surgery that will fix it. He also said that we need to end the antitrust exemptions for insurance, which I was actually not aware of. But I do feel like that's an intriguing thing to explore and see, why is it that certain corporations are exempt from the kind of scrutiny that other corporations are, and does that serve our country to have that or not? Because it really seems like lobbyists just getting our politicians to protect the money that they give to the politicians by enshrining them with protections in the law. Heaven knows I'm not happy with insurance companies. Vivek Ramaswamy then said that Operation Warp Speed liability protections should be repealed. That was Trump saying that you can't sue a pharmaceutical company over the vaccines. And then he said that free speech is most important in times of emergency, and that we should have been able to debate vaccines with anti-vax rhetoric when Trump was giving that liability protection to pharmaceutical companies, and that he would repeal it so that if anyone was injured by a vaccine, that they could sue pharmaceutical companies. And then Vivek pointed out revolving doors in government with lobbyists and people who've been in government office then working for companies. And specifically, he pointed out how Nikki Haley worked for Boeing, which is a defense contractor. Then DeSantis said that we need to clean house because Big Pharma is making money off injections that are being given to 6-month-old babies with no data to back up the efficacy of the practice. And there was a lot of fear mongering in that, and I think that there actually is data to support it. That's why it would get approved there. But to say that Big Pharma wants to stick needles in your 6-month-old babies for a profit, that's something that's going to rile up Republican voters for sure. they were all given the final question of like which former president they would draw inspiration from, and Chris Christie said that he's been writing a book on what would Reagan do, uh, which reminds me of the "What Would Jesus Do" bracelets, WWJD, and all that. But Nikki Haley said George Washington and Abe Lincoln, which reminded me of Vivek Ramaswamy saying that she couldn't name three provinces in the Ukraine that she would want to liberate. And so when she's asked about like which presidents does she draw inspiration from, she says George Washington and Abe Lincoln, which are the two that pretty much everybody uh, can remember, from their high school education. And so Ron DeSantis went with curveball answer. He said Calvin Coolidge, and that he understood the proper role of government in the Constitution. And I respect that answer as being not one that is just the obvious choice, but it also seemed like maybe he was prepped for that answer should it should the question ever arise. And I think good on his prep team. Vivek Ramaswamy said Thomas Jefferson, who wrote the Declaration of Independence and invented swivel chairs while he was doing it, and that Jefferson understood freedom of speech. And that answer actually made sense to me in that Vivek Ramaswamy has so many positions in common with Ron Paul and libertarians who would love to enshrine Thomas Jefferson everywhere that they can. So his answer actually just made sense to me. But just the fact that they all named different presidents, it left me thinking that like, okay, Vivek already had the other people on the panel mention all those other presidents that Republicans can remember the names of, and Ronald Reagan was already taken. So then he had to come up with something. It's like they all answered a different president, and that was weird to me because if you've got four of them, there should have been at least a little bit of overlap on answer there. But there wasn't. They wanted to differentiate themselves. So I guess if a president was already taken, then they didn't want to look like they were copying the other person's answer. So final statements. Chris Christie said, "Vote because Trump won't be able to because he'll be a felon," and that made the crowd boo. And then he told the crowd to quit denying reality, and then he said to the rest of them, like bad guys on the world stage, like the Ayatollah, like Putin, like President Xi Jinping, they will see if you're afraid of Trump, and they'll smell your fear, and then you won't be able to deal with them either. Even the people coming across the southern border will see if you're afraid of Trump. What are you going to do to them? And so Vivek Ramaswamy then said he used his final statement to say climate change as an agenda is a hoax, and that it's worse than COVID and a false religion. He's really reaching for the bottom of the barrel in the Republican Party to like try to get like the worst of the conspiracy theorists on his side. Nikki Haley said that our country is in chaos, and that she would not pit Republicans and Democrats against each other. And then there would be no drama, no vendettas, no whining like Trump, and that she would unleash our economy and reject socialism. And then DeSantis said that our kids will be less prosperous than us if we don't fight. Nobody has more wins than me in Florida, and I will fight the good fight. And so definitely Uh, I felt with the last statement, just giving DeSantis the last word was kind of giving him a little bit of an edge. But overall the whole night, I think Nikki Haley was kind of positioned as who is the front runner of the four, uh, minus Trump, who is obviously leagues ahead of them as far as polling. But if we had primaries in every state, I just got left with this feeling that even though DeSantis is behind in the polls, when it actually came down to it, state by state, I think he could probably edge out all the other three. And for people who are just looking for someone to enact policies in the vein of Trump and not just be like a weird Trump sycophant like Vivek Ramaswamy seems to be, I think DeSantis would be their choice. My choice, obviously, as far as damage control and you know the lesser of all the evils on stage, I would have probably gone with Christie, which is the same as all the debates before this. But as far as like my feel for what would happen in a primary where Trump is barred from ballots in many states, I got the feeling that right now Nikki Haley is ahead, but I actually feel like DeSantis could edge her out state by state, with some momentum, and that the other two would just kind of fall to the wayside first and have to endorse a candidate. And it would probably come down to DeSantis versus Haley, and yeah, we'll have to see if my state of Colorado keeps Trump off the ballot. And right now, it being the 21st, we have just a couple of weeks before we need the decision because the ballots have to be printed. So we'll know by January 4th if that's the case. And all of this coverage of these debates that I've been doing matters, because if Trump is allowed on the ballots, I think, of course, he will just win by a landslide. And none of this was for anything except for, blathering on about politics and, existential crises of our time, whatnot. Uh, Hopefully, I make another video by the end of the year. If not, I'll see you guys in the next year.